What's up, everybody? Ghosted here, and today it's finally time to talk about the warrior build that we put together. I've been working on this thing for probably multiple weeks now. This is by far my favorite build in PathofExile 2. I feel like with warrior, it's really tough to find the best build to fit your playstyle and also be efficient with clearing maps, pinnacle bosses, and we have that. So I'm going to be showcasing it and also talking about the skills, the passive tree, and the gear, everything that goes into it. And I think you guys are going to love it. It's a combination of Mace Strike, the basic skill for warrior, as well as Hammer of the Gods for one-shotting pinnacle bosses or whatever you need it to do. And yeah, it's satisfying. It clears the whole screen and maps. I can't recommend this build enough to you guys. And let's get into it. Okay, so first thing first, I do want to show you the skills and the support gems that go into this build. It's actually pretty simplistic. You only need like 100 spirit. You get that through the campaign to run this build. It does have a little bit of weapon swapping with blinking, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we continue, okay? So just starting out, the main skill you're going to be using with this build is Mace Strike. That is the basic skill build pretty much. Once you get it to level 90, you will have every single support gem socket to make it as good as possible. Right now, it is sitting at 56k without any rage buildup or anything like that. You can one-shot in maps, tier 15 up to tier 18s. You can one-shot in maps. And so in Mace Strike, you definitely want to have martial tempo for the attack speed. Heft is going to be giving you more physical damage. Your mace will have physical damage on it, so that's a big jump in damage for you as well. And also we do have Cold Infusion. This is going to be in combination with Herald of Ice and the Pulsar Keln Ring to shatter enemies, as you see in the video. Also, just kind of increasing elemental damage with it. I'm using Primal Armament. And to create this giant AoE, part of that is going to rely on Magnified Effect. Okay, so second up, we do have Frost Wall. This right here does require a little bit of intelligence to use. You want a low-level Frost Wall. You want it to be as easy to destroy as possible. And that in combination with our boots will give you a lot of overkill damage on mobs. I'll explain that in a bit as well when we show the gear. On Frost Wall, I do have Fortress as well as Font of Rage. When you place Frost Wall, you're going to get Rage built up. So you place a couple of these, it's going to build up your rage. It's going to help with more damage. And then Icicle does make it to where Frost Wall has less life on it. That way it's easier to destroy as well. And then Infernal Warcry, this is going to help amplify damage with your rage. And what I mean by that, it empowers your attacks. Also, having Rage Forge, you consume rage and it gives you more damage. As well as Premeditation, this is going to give your skill just more damage while it's empowered. And then Raging Cry. And then Raging Cry here, this is just going to give you more rage depending on how many enemies are around when you do press it. And also Dazing Cry, this is going to daze enemies, it's like a stun pretty much. And then coming down to Hammer of the Gods. Okay, so I will show you the setup for Hammer of the Gods in the video. To one-shot pinnacle bosses, max tier pinnacle bosses. But we're going to talk about the support gems we have in Hammer of the Gods. So we are using Heavy Swing for more physical damage. Attack speed on it doesn't really matter. Also Fist of War, ancestrally boosting it is going to give it more damage. And you only use it every so often anyway, so the no more than 6 seconds doesn't really apply. As well as Brutality for more physical damage. It does take away elemental damage. It still one-shots even though. And so I've been running close combat because I'm usually up close when I do proc Hammer of the Gods anyways. So that added damage has been working for me. And also Concentrated Effect. You are using this to kill one enemy, so it doesn't need to be giant AoE. More area damage is going to provide a better output than more area effect. And this is what really puts the build together. Herald of Ice, one of my favorite abilities in the game is Herald of Ice. So this with elemental damage from elemental focus, as well as cold penetration, cold mastery, long shot for if enemies are further away, it's going to do more damage to them. And as well as Culling Strike to help with executing rare and unique enemies. this is going to be a great setup if we're only running one Herald right now. Usually you do see Herald of Ice combined with Herald of Thunder, but I wanted to make a basic build, so 100 spirit, not needing to rely on extra spirit for the build. We'll just make it to where everybody's able to play it pretty simply, you know. And I'm also running Berserk. It's another spirit buff. The reason I'm using this is just it gives you a bigger percentage to rage effect. Rage does give you increased damage, so more damage equals good. It does take a bit of your life, so we do combat that with cannibalism. It does cost 15 spirit, but you should be able to run that no problem. And if you have a decent amount of energy shield, Grim Feast is probably one of the best spirit buffs in the game. The fact that it can give you overshield, like double your shield and stuff like that, it just helps with survivability a ton. If you're not using Grim Feast, you should be in most cases. Okay, so this one is going to be kind of confusing to people, I feel like. So this build does use a little bit of weapon swap for mobility. So your main weapons will be, of course, I'll show you right now. So your main weapon will, of course, be a two-handed mace with a shield. But we will be using weapon swap with a wand and a cooldown shield. That is only to use blink, okay? This is a way to use blink without needing a bunch of spirit because you just weapon swap. So we are using blink on our wand shield setup. This is kind of like a budget version because in case you don't have Temporalis, which I'm sure a lot of people don't have Temporalis out there, this is a way to increase your mobility at a very cheap, in a cheap way, cheap form. And in blink, we do have cast speed as well as unbreakable. In blink, we do have arcane tempo for cast speed. I did also hear that cast speed does also help with cooldown. We're running that as well as unbreakable. So if you're getting stunned, it has more threshold. So when you proc blink, it does help with getting out of sticky situations when you do get stunned and stuff like that. We also are using ingenuity to lower the cooldown rate. That way we can proc it a bit more often to help with mobility and things like that, and survivability with the stun threshold. And also energy barrier, so when you proc it, it's going to help with restoring your energy shield in case you are taking a bit of damage. So like I said, it's used with weapon swap, and I'm going to go over that when we talk about the gear a little bit more, okay? So that is the budget setup for this build. I will also have a Temporalis version for the build. If you have Temporalis, you can rock that too. But yeah. All right, also real quick, I did just want to show you, here is my planner for anybody that enjoys max roll planners. We do have a planner over here on max roll. You can check out, we have the skill gems, the passive tree right here. We also have the gear as well as even the atlas tree. So if you're interested in the max roll build planner, there it is. And we also do have a Path of Builds planner. I'm going to be linking those in the comments as well as the description. So again, Path of Builds, max roll, we got you covered. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking to you guys about the passive tree as well as the ascendancy for this build. And so when you're starting out with your ascendancy and you're speccing into Titan, you really want to get to hulking form. This is going to give you increase to small passive skills, 50% increase. That's big. That's when testing this build, I was struggling. Once I specced into hulking form, it fixed all the issues I was having. So first you want to get to hulking form. Then, you could go crushing impacts as well as finishing up with 15% more maximum life here. That is all ascendancy taken care of right there. And so as far as the passive tree goes, you do want to come down this way. A lot of what goes into this build is area of effect, percentage of area of effect, as well as percentage of area damage. Okay, so summarizing everything, the main important parts are area of effect, as well as area damage and block chance. So with heading down, we do come all the way over to here. Devastation, more area attack damage, more area of effect for attacks. So you're pretty much pathing to this. On the way, you're also getting Unstoppable Barrier. This is just more block chance. We're going to turn block chance into damage with this build. So with summarizing things, I would head up to this node last, okay? So while you're coming down, you're heading straight down. You're picking up strength. This right here beefs a lot of strength as well. You pretty much want to come down this way. You want to get Giant's Blood as soon as you can to rock a two-handed in one hand. It's going to require a lot of strength though. So as you're heading this way, you're going to come over here and you want to get this star node. So pretty much right here, equipment and skill gems have reduced attribute requirements. So that means for your gear as well as your skills, they're going to have less requirements for your stats. So spec into the star like I would head here as quick as you can. You could also get some area of effect as well, area damage over here. Pretty much coming back up, then you want to get more area of effects things right here. This is really good resolute technique. I use this so you're not having any issues with accuracy. You are unable to crit, but the damage does so much. It does so much damage anyways that you don't need to spec into crit. I've tried specking into crit and it didn't work as well. Also, pretty much working your way up to get offensive stance, 1% increased damage per 1% chance to block. The max block chance is 75%. So that is 75% increased damage from your block chance. And I'll show you this right now, but we'll go over it again. We do anoint lay siege right here. This is 1% increased damage per 1% chance to block as well. So if we add that up, in total, that is 150% increased damage per our 75 from our 75% block chance. So block chance, big good, big damage, all that good shit. So that's just the passive summary. I would come up to this last. This is increased area of effect and increased damage. I would make sure you're getting all the things here. Very, very short summary of the passive tree. We get more mace damage here. This is good for more strength right here. And yeah, so you're going to have some weird things with attribute requirements. We do use a bit of dexterity. We use a bit of intelligence. So just specking into a lot of strength, and then when you need dex and intelligence, you're filling that in on the passive tree as well. And so I should definitely talk a bit about the jewels that go in here. I am missing a couple. These won't be missing in the planner. But right here, this is one that I actually crafted myself. Increased melee damage, damage with maces, getting rage on melee hit, as well as gaining rage when you are hit. This is really good. This is a ruby. This will be in the planner for sure. I do have this one right here. I was testing some stuff. This is cold damage with maximum energy shield and crit chance, as well as freeze threshold, trying not to get froze. Also, we are using attack speed, attack damage. This is a really slept on one for this build specifically. Increased damage with hits against rare and unique enemies. This is going to help with the one-shot potential of rares while you're mapping. And this is also going to help with one-shotting bosses with Hammer of the Gods when you are trying to farm those pinnacle bosses and stuff like that. And then over here, this is very similar. Attack speed, attack damage, rare damage. And don't worry about the flask. It's just, this is a cheaper version of a build. You know, you're not seeing a bunch of unique jewels everywhere. There are a couple though, and we're going to talk about those right now. So against the darkness, this one I got is 1% increased maximum life for the small passives, and then the notable passives give us 3% increased strength. So I put it by the star. If you look here, we do get 1% increased life, 1% increased life, 1% increased life. We get the 3% strength. Over here we get another 3% strength, and we don't get anything right there, but that's okay. So yeah. And this one right here, this is our Megalomaniac. So we actually got this for pretty cheap, 1 divine, Coming Calamity. This, if you're not sure what Coming Calamity is, it just helps with your Herald damage. So increased cold damage while affected by Herald of Ice. I figured, hey, for 1 divine, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Yo, shout out to Uppercase, who is probably baked right now. And then we also, again, we got kind of lucky with this going for as cheap as it did. We also get Vocal Empowerment. So that empowers your Warcry. That allows Warcry to empower an additional attack. So instead of 1 empowered attack, it's giving us 2. So if you have any issues where you're not one-shotting, you will definitely be 2-shotting. So that is it as far as like important jewels, things like that to show in the video. If that was not enough, they will be in the planner for you as well. Okay, so now it is time to talk about our gear that goes into this build. and I'm going to go over it really quickly. If you have any issues, again, reflect on the build planner. But for people that like, to have the visual, we're going to do it in the video. So my two-handed mace right here, Cultist Great Hammer. The reason this is so good is because strikes deal splash damage to targets within 1.8 meters. So this mace right here gives you AoE. Like by itself, you get AoE from this weapon. With a couple other things like our area of effect and our area of damage, this just works best for mapping. And I also one-shot pinnacle bosses with this. I don't need a weapon swap to like a single target mace. Maybe you would like to do that. I don't do that because we do use our wand for blinking around and everything. On this, a lot of physical damage is great. The one that I have has lightning damage. You would want cold damage because I was testing Herald of Thunder as well, so I went with this. I would recommend cold damage, but yeah, you also will want reduced attribute requirements unless you have an absolute fuck ton of strength. So it'll be in the planner, check that out. But this is our weapon. It's been insane damage for me. Now I'm going to go over to our helmet. So for, this budget version of the build, this is a helmet I would recommend. I know it's probably going to cost you a little bit as far as currency and stuff goes. You can also gamble this helmet. I actually gambled this helmet before. And it has rarity on it, which is cool. Also, damage taken bypasses energy shield. This could be good as far as like not draining all of your energy shield at once. You also gain 30% of your maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. So as a warrior with a bunch of strength gives you life, which in turn will give you energy shield in this case. So really good helmet here. And then the chest piece, yes, it is another unique. This is the Warrior Invictus. This does give you armor, evasion, and energy shield. This version of it is really good. It can have different stats. We have 5% increased attributes per socketed rune or soul core. If you corrupt this, you have a chance of getting 5 sockets. So if you can get a 5 socket, one of these, it'll be amazing for you. And we also have 8% to all elemental resistances per socketed rune or soul core. You would want like 10% usually, but my resistances are capped. So this right here really been good for the build as far as survivability and helping us reach attributes as well as our elemental resistances. So yeah, I would recommend that. And so for my amulet, trying to find every single best stat on an amulet can get very expensive. So what I would take away from this amulet is not the accuracy rating, not the mana, but the spirit. So this spirit allows me to use extra things on the build. You don't need spirit for this build. This is the budget version. You only need 100 spirit, but I play an expensive version of it. 26 to all attributes is big. That's dexterity, intelligence, and strength. And we also have plus 32% or plus 32 strength as well. This build does require quite a bit of strength, so having this on your amulet is going to help you out a ton. And also 10% to all elemental resistances. If not for this, I probably wouldn't be capped on res. So yeah. Now let's move over to our shield. This shield has a ton of block chance, okay? It has armor as well as energy shield. So try to get an armor energy shield with block chance. Extra armor is good. Energy shield's good. It does have more strength as well on it, which is big. We need that. As well as resistances. So having a shield, that's why running Giant's Blood in the passive tree is so good, because you can use the two-handed mace while also using the shield. And if you remember, as far as the passive tree, block chance equals damage for us. So this is helping us get max block chance. Now we're going to talk about our rare ring, which is a breach ring. Adds physical damage, cold damage, percent increased cold damage. That just equals more damage for us. Also, it does have rarity on here. You don't need that, but rarity can help in some situations. But a big part of this is how I get res. 22% all res as well as 21% chaos res. So that's major right there. And what's really putting the build together, this is a super cheap ring, by the way. Pulsar Keln Sapphire ring. Maybe I call this ring the pole sucking ring. Who knows? Catch the stream to find out. But increased cold percent damage is great. A little bit of mana, sure. Some strength, that's great too. Cold res, that's good. But what really pulls the build together is enemies chilled by your hits can be shattered as though they are frozen. So the fact that our Mace Strike does a little bit of cold damage and it can chill enemies, that with Herald of Ice just explodes the screen, just makes enemies shatter all over your screen. So this ring right here has it's the build is so satisfying. So this ring's very cheap. You can get it for a couple exalted, but I would recommend using catalysts to increase the cold damage on it too for more damage. And these gloves I actually really like these a lot. They do have lightning damage on them. I would recommend for this build cold damage, but I was testing Herald of Thunder stuff too. So physical damage, I would say cold damage in your instance. Some life, but ranks to melee skills really good. And we're getting fire and lightning res to help cap our resistances. And I did socket chaos res into that. And now we're just going down and I'm going to show you guys ingenuity. You don't need ingenuity for this build. It just gives you a bigger bonus to your rings. So the fact that we have damage and resistances on our rings, it's going to amplify that a little bit. So if you can afford to get an ingenuity on the trade site, definitely do that. If not, just use a belt that gives you more resistances. That way you're not having any issues with survivability, okay? And then these right here, the Trample Toe Greaves, okay? The movement speed, I would recommend getting one with, you know, like at least 15% movement speed. But also the deal percentage of overkill damage to enemies within 2 meters of the enemy killed. So this is insane. This with Herald of Ice, this with the Cultist Great Hammer, the AoE that we do is insane. These boots right here, the overkill damage, what does that mean? So let's say we put down Frost Wall. Once we put down Frost Wall, if we destroy it, the overkill damage we do to it is transferred to enemies. It's insane. So this is how we are able to pretty much one-shot bosses with Hammer of the Gods and Frost Wall. And that'll reflect in the gameplay too. So yeah. And as far as a flask, get one that recovers a bunch of life. As far as your charm, stun charm, my biggest death, the reason I die the most is because I'm getting stunned 100%. And as far as just get a mana flask, don't worry about the unique flask. I just didn't change it for the sake of the build. You can see a normal like magic flask in the planner. So yeah, that is the gear that goes into the build for as far as our damage. Now we are going to swap over to our wand and shield setup. So everything is exactly the same, right? Except when we weapon swap, all you want is cast speed. You just want a bunch of cast speed on your wand that will allow you to proc blink faster. And this unique shield right here, Crest of Ardura, it gives you increased cooldown recovery rate. So this shield with the wand will allow you to blink more often. So if you're trying to just traverse through your map fast, you will swap weapons to your wand and use blink. Once you use blink, you would swap back to your mace skill or just keep chugging away with blink until you get to a pack of enemies. So that is the weapon swap tech, and that's why we have blink. Again, we don't use blink with our weapon because we only have 100 spirit. This is like a budgeted OP build for you guys. So yeah, that is the gear that goes into the build. Okay, so I tried to make as short of a video for a build guide as I possibly could. And this was technically my first video that I am making for PathofExile 2. I really wanted to take my time with making videos to figure out the game a bit more so we didn't have a raged gaming video incident. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, man. It's been so much fun playing this game, and I can't wait to do more and make more videos in the future. I would say, if you guys like this video, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But also, for anybody who does like to watch Twitch streams, I do stream over on Twitch pretty much every day, 6 p.m. EST. I would love to see you guys over there. If you have any questions about the build, I can answer it for you. You don't got to wait for me to respond to your comment on the YouTube video. So please head over to there and hit your boy with a follow over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ghosted. We have an awesome community over there. You would fit in. You would fit the vibe. I guarantee it. So thank you guys. I do appreciate it. Look forward to more videos in the future. I'm going to try to get more consistent with that. I did actually have a lot of fun making this build. So if we find more fun builds, then we'll be back right here yapping at you guys over on YouTube. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Take care. See ya.